I'm gonna show to you, my fellow chessers, the chess game between Gukesh and Nikolas Theodorou in FIDE Grand Swiss 2025, round number 6. Hello, my fellow chessers. We're back and back with another video, my fellow chessers. So let's begin on e4, e5, knight f3, attacking the pawn, knight f6. So this is bit of defense, my fellow chessers. All right, so let's continue. Knight takes e5. This is classical variation of Petrov defense, my fellow chessers. All right, so let's continue. d6, attacking the knight on e5, my fellow chessers. All right, knight f3. All right, so go back. Knight takes e4. Wow. All right, d4. So this is Petrov defense, classical attack, my fellow chessers. All right, so d5. Oh, okay. So bishop d3, attacking the knight on e4, my fellow chessers. All right, bishop d6, castle's kingside, castle's kingside. All right, c4, attacking the pawn on d5. All right, so next c6, defending the pawn on d5, my fellow chessers. All right, so let's continue the game. c5, wow, attacking the bishop on d6, my fellow chessers. All right, bishop c7, knight c3, attacking the knight on e4, my fellow chessers. All right, bishop f5, defending the knight on e4, my fellow chessers. All right, knight g5, attacking the knight, my fellow chessers. All right, knight takes c3. Wow. All right, b takes c3. Why Gukesh didn't take this? If you take, my fellow chessers, black take this on queen on d1. They're gonna try to take the queen on d1. All right, so that's why b takes c3, my fellow chessers. Queen f6, defending the bishop on f5, my fellow chessers. All right, ooh, g4. Wow, my fellow chessers. Bishop takes d3, my fellow chessers. Queen takes d3, my fellow chessers, at the same time attacking the pawn on h7, my fellow chessers. All right, threatening checkmate, my fellow chessers. All right, so let's continue the real game, my fellow chessers, which is queen g6. Okay, challenging the queen. Oh, queen takes g6, my fellow chessers. H takes g6, my fellow chessers. Rook e1. Wow, preferring for rook e7, something like that. All right, so let's continue the game. Oh, knight a6, preparing for what, my fellow chessers. So anyway, so let's continue the real game. Rook b1, attacking the pawn on b7, my fellow chessers. All right. Oh, b6, my fellow chessers. All right, rook b3. Wow, preferring for rook a3, something like that. All right, rook e8 or rook f e8, my fellow chessers, because we have rook here on a8, my fellow chessers. That's why rook f e8, my fellow chessers. Rook takes e8, my fellow chessers. Rook takes e8, my fellow chessers. All right, rook a3, attacking the knight on a6, my fellow chessers. All right, so let's continue the game. Rook e1, attacking the king on g1, at the same time attacking the bishop on c1, my fellow chessers. All right, so rook king to g2. All right, king to g2. Rook takes c1. Rook takes c1, my fellow chessers. Bishop d8, attacking the knight on g5, my fellow chessers. Alright. Knight f3, my fellow chessers. King to f1. Why? Okay, so let's continue the game. Oh, rook takes a7. Let's go. King f8. Rook takes a7 and b takes c5. This is good move, my fellow chessers. Alright. Knight e4, e5, e5. What's the idea? Attacking the pawn on c6, my fellow chessers. At the same time, preferring for knight d7, d7, something like that, my fellow chessers. All right. So bishop d6, bishop f6, my fellow chessers. What's the idea? To attack this, to take, something like that. Oh, why? Let's continue the real game, which is rook takes f8. Okay, f7, f7. So rather f7, my fellow contestants. All right, correct my pronunciation or my sentence, my fellow contestants. All right, my fellow contestants. All right. So king to e8. All right. So, okay. Rook a7. Wow, my fellow contestants. Rook takes c3, my fellow contestants. All right. Rook a8. Rook a8. What's the idea to attack this side, my fellow contestants? As you can see, the evaluation bar here is still equal my fellow contestants. All right, my fellow contestants. So king to e7. Wow. Knight takes e7. Knight takes d7, my fellow chessers. King to d7, my fellow chessers, because under attack, my fellow chessers. That's why king d7 is enough, my fellow chessers. Knight e5. So, oh, bishop takes e5, my fellow chessers. D takes e5, my fellow chessers. D4. Wow, D4 is coming. The D4 is very dangerous, my fellow contestants. Alright, preferring for D1 queen, my fellow contestants. F4 mistake of the world champion as of now, my fellow contestants. Mistake, my fellow contestants. The best continuation on this position, my fellow contestants, based on computer engine, my fellow contestants, is which is rook a6. Rook a6 here, rook a6 to attack this pawn on g6, or a4, my fellow contestants, or a4 and rook a6. The best continuation on this is the best continuation to attack this, my fellow contestants, and the continuation is king to e7, something like that, and rook to d6 to defend this, my fellow contestants, to maintain the equal position, my fellow contestants. All right. So this is the best continuation, and the next is rook. The next is a4, a4. This is the best continuation, a4, based on computer engine, my fellow contestants. The strong computer engine, my fellow contestants. All right. So let's continue the real game, which is what? Which is the best continuation of this position is um the real game is, which is f4, my fellow contestants. Mistake of Gukesh, my fellow contestants, the world champion as of now, my fellow contestants. All right. So let's continue the real game, which is D3 mistake of Nikolas, my fellow contestants. The best continuation on this position, my fellow contestants, is rook e3. Oh, rook e3 here. Rook e3 or d3, rook e3 or king e6, something like that. This is the best continuation, all right? Rook e3, my fellow contestants, all right? So to maintain the equal position here, my fellow contestants. I hope you can understand what I'm trying to say, my fellow contestants. All right, so let's continue the real game, which is d3, my fellow contestants, all right? D3, rook a6 attacking the pawn on g6, c5, c4. Rook a7, mistake of the world champion, my fellow contestants. That is the blunder of world champion as of now, my fellow contestants. All right, as of now, my fellow contestants. The best continuation on this position, my fellow contestants, is king f2, my fellow contestants. King f2, not king f3. King f2 or e6. What? E6 or rook to d6. Okay, king f2 is enough, my fellow contestants, to maintain the equal position, my fellow contestants. All right, you can understand. I hope you can understand what I'm trying to say, my fellow contestants. But Gukesh moved the rook to a7, mistake. King e8, my fellow contestants. As you can see, the evaluation bar here, black is winning. All right, my fellow contestants. All right, as of now. All right. So anyway, king rook to a8, and king to e7, my fellow contestants. Rook to a7, my fellow contestants. King to e8, my fellow contestants. Rook to a8, my fellow contestants. Ooh, king to e7, my fellow contestants. Last. So rook to a7, king to d8. Oh, one more time to e8. It will be draw, my fellow contestants. All right, but all right, so let's continue the real game. Rook a8, rook a8. All right, king to d7, as you can see. All right, rook a7, rook d8. Wow, king to a8. All right, king to c7, my fellow contestants. Rook to a7, king to c6, rook to a6, king to c5, rook to d8, rook to d6, my fellow contestants. Rook c2. King to f3, my fellow contestants, but it's too late, my fellow contestants. All right. D2, rook d8, c3, e6, rook c1. Gukesh resigned the game, or white resigned the game, my fellow contestants. Why? The best continuation is king to f2, or if we go like for example king to go here, king to e2, we have rook e1, my fellow chessers. And like for example, the best continuation on this position is rook to e1, my fellow chessers. We have rook to king to f2, we have rook to e1, my fellow chessers, boundary, my fellow chessers. And preferring for c2, something like that. Like for example, we have h3 or h4. Like for example, h4, my fellow chessers, we have c2. And like for example, rook c8 to check, my fellow chessers, to attack. We have king to d6, and like for example, take, we have promoting the queen on d1, my fellow chessers. That's why Gukesh resigned the game after rook c1, my fellow chessers. All right. So like, comment, and subscribe, my fellow chessers. All right. Like, comment, and subscribe here. Chessers TV official team and Chessers TV, my fellow chessers. To God be all the glory. Praise Lord Jesus Christ.